With Minecraft moving away from yearly major updates to seasonal content drops, as they call them, there's no better time to look back and go through all of the major updates and rate them to find out what was the best Minecraft update ever once and for all. This is official, by the way. This is endorsed by Mojang. Don't look that up. Just take my word for it, okay? Now I'm gonna skip past the early development years and straight to 1.0, which is when the Ender Dragon was added, and thus what I will consider to be the core Minecraft progression was established, right? I'm not counting all the other stuff that they added beforehand as major. So our first major update is 1.1, which brought spawn eggs and super flat world, also beach biomes. Yeah, okay, not the most exciting update, but I guess you can only go up from here. This gets a 1 out of 1 for perfect oneness. Next up, we got 1.2, which gave us iron golems, mine shafts, and jungle biomes, as well as ocelots, which no one really cares about, but like, this is already huge compared to the previous update. Iron golems and mine shafts are still staple pieces of Minecraft to this day, but I'm gonna be honest, the jungle biomes didn't actually have any of the content that made them unique at the time. Like, we didn't have cocoa beans, melons, bamboos, parrots. I mean, we had melons, but they weren't specifically in jungle biomes. They just existed out there, so that's not really. But I'm still gonna give this update a 3 out of 10 because it's 3 times better than the previous update, but it's still not a very good score, 3 out of 10. But I want to see improvement. Look, this is good improvement. This is good improvement. And guess what? 1.3 added desert and jungle temples. Okay, not too interesting, but wait for it. It also added emeralds and trading as a whole, the entire trading system. It also added ender chest. It added notch apples. We got writable books, and we got adventure mode. All of these things are game changing in their own way, and they were all in like this one update. 1.3 was an insane update, dude. Why is no one talking about this? Ender chests are a wireless item translocation system, dude. We got Wi-Fi in Minecraft. Notch apples completely redefined combat around it. Writable books are a role player's dream, and adventure mode is the driving force behind many of the most popular adventure maps that took off during the initial Minecraft craze. An absolutely insane update, especially considering it was pre-Microsoft. A well-deserved 7 out of 10. Alright, I'm being told the next update is 1.4, which brought a whole bunch of stuff. We got carrots and spuds, pumpkin pies and flower pots, and we got item frames. But mainly it's remembered for, what is that? The Wither. And command blocks, yeah, that's right. And I don't personally care too much for the Wither, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think it's a pretty boring boss fight, as in if you properly prepare for it, it's completely trivial. If you got the prep time, if you're Batman, you just win. And if you try to have a quote-unquote fair fight against it, it's just going to give you 5 different flavors of cancer and absolutely destroy half of your world, right? So like, what's the point? But command blocks, I live with the command block, baby. Computer science students will come home complaining about their programming project and then proceed to procrastinate by programming in their video game. 10 out of 10 for command blocks, 3 out of 10 for the Wither. Overall, median 7 out of 10 update, pretty good. Now moving on to 1.5, aka the redstone update, bringing with its redstone blocks, daylight sensors, comparators, trap chest, oh, hoppers, hey, I know those ones. This is the nerdiest update yet, because redstone engineers will tell you how much comparators completely change the entire fabric of the universe. Meanwhile, the average player forgets about their existence on an hourly basis. And yet, I believe we can all come together in our love for the Hopper and agree to give this update a solid 6 out of 10. We're all on the same page here. I think that's good. I think that's a good score. I think we can all, you know, find solace in that. Now, this next update is absolutely huge, so brace yourself. 1.6 was known as the horse update, and it added horses? That's about it, not gonna lie. It also brought leads, coal blocks, carpets. I mean, like, all of the updates so far had brought a bunch of small stuff that I hadn't mentioned, right? Because they're not important. Meanwhile, this update added so little stuff that the timeline mentions horses twice. The worst part is that this is the most useful horses had ever been in their existence, and they're just going to slide further and further into gimmickness as time passes. I say let's just give this a 2 out of 10 and move on, yeah? The next update definitely changed the world. That's what it's called. And it added 11 new biomes and completely reimagined world generation. Although it's not something that you can just point to and show as new, this is new, look at this, you can't really do that with this one. But without this new world generation, Minecraft would just feel eerily more boring. Great update, loved having variety in my fantasy world, and although future updates kind of do the whole biomes and world generation thing better, this one paved the way, so I'll cut it some slack. 7 out of 10, good job, buddy, you're setting standards for the future generations, I like it. Next is the Bountiful update, and as the last pre-Microsoft update, it really made an impact, let me tell you. I mean, we got ocean monuments, first of all, as well as rabbits, slime blocks, banners, armor stands, sheep, mutton. Yeah, I don't know, the ocean monuments are cool and the rest is kind of fodder, but it's important fodder, okay? Like, this is the update that made lapis required to be used while enchanting, finally giving lapis lazuli a use in gameplay. Also, we got all the stupid blocks like granite, andesite, and diorite, and coarse dirt, all of which are probably completely useless to 90% of the player base, but me and my builder gang were eating good that day, let me tell ya. Overall, it feels like this update added all the little missing things that should have been in the game before Microsoft took over and inevitably took the development in a whole different direction. And I think that's great. We need updates like these that are more filler for the health of the game so that it doesn't all just feel like, oh, everything is based on progression. This is like, Minecraft is inherently a creative game. So I like it. But this update also added endermites and absolutely nobody liked that, so 5 out of 10, okay? And welcome to Microsoft territory. If you've been keeping up, you know that the next update is 1.9, aka the combat updates. Yeah, I didn't actually realize this was Microsoft's first update. They were not up to a good start, were they? I mean, I think everyone watching this video already knows about this update. We got end cities and elytras, lovely post-game content, but also an entirely reworked combat system that made swords basically ornamental, slowed the pace of PvP to a halt, and single-handedly cemented this update as the single most controversial one in the history of Minecraft. Now, me personally, I live for the elytra, and since I don't really care about serious PvP, I don't care about the combat changes, okay? In fact, I absolutely love the shield for how effective it is at completely shutting down the aimbotting health spawns known as the skeletons. This update also removed the ability to craft notch apples. Yeah, that was this update, which broke the hearts of every single player fan out there, but also, let's be honest, it was like objectively good in terms of PvP. So overall, I can't give this update anything other than a complete neutral 5 out of 10, right? You understand where I'm coming from? I mean, it's known for how divisive it is. To some, it's gonna be the worst update ever, and to some, it's gonna be the reason they love the game. All I can say is that I hope Mojang takes the time to actually do their Java Edition combat test so that we can actually get a proper combat system that unifies all players, inshallah. The next update is 1.10. No one cares about this update. It added polar bears and magma blocks. Wow. 1 out of 10. Get out of my sight. 1.11. The exploration update. And it gave us llamas, funny, shulker boxes, W, observers, and woodland mansions. What? And by that, I mean everything that also comes packaged with the woodland mansion. Vindicators and evokers, that's this update, as well as the vexes. Okay, well, you know, and the totems of undying. Look, we'll get to it. Because I'm gonna be honest with you fellas, I do not really know what to make of this update. Like, it feels like a very disconnected mess, which I don't normally support. I prefer when they choose one aspect of the game and decide to like overhaul it and like change it in a meaningful and well thought out way. But I will admit there's an argument to be made that this is actually the woodland mansion update, and the shulker boxes and the llamas and the observer that we got are just little bonuses. Sure, let's give it the benefit of the doubts, and let's focus on what the woodland mansion update, in this case, brings us. The Woodland Mansion itself is a very cool, very fun, very new structure to explore, great for some unique combat, and pretty challenging actually in all the best ways. The Evoker is possibly the best hostile mob ever added to the game, the Vex is possibly the worst hostile mob ever added to the game, and the Totem of Undying is possibly the most power creep inducing combat meta breaking item ever added to the game, and I think it should be disabled in hardcore, but that's just me, that's just personal, that's my opinion, that's my 2 cents, and if you were to add up all of my 2 cents throughout this video, you'd get 42 cents, and ain't that the meaning of life, baby. Also, it's weird to me that the shulker boxes weren't added, well, with the shulkers in the first place, you know, that would be the obvious thing to do, but it's even weirder that they were added in the same update as llamas, because, you know, beyond the fact that they are funny, what's the pragmatic use of llamas? It's to use them for forming caravans with a bunch of chests attached to them, allowing the player to carry vast amounts of items with them on the road. And what do shulker boxes do? Well, basically that, but a lot better, since you're not beholden to the ever so gracious pathfinding skills that the llama AI has been bestowed with. So in the same update that they introduced the idea of a mobile caravan, they also power crept it out of relevance. So much so that I bet a lot of the people watching right now, have never actually gone through the trouble of forming a llama caravan ever. And not for lack of usefulness either, mind you, because the second I get access to them, you can bet your bottom dollar I ain't ever leaving home without a shulker box again. Overall, I just really don't know what to make of this update, so it gets like 2 carpeted llamas in a woodland mansion, and you can decide however much you value that. Let's just move on to 1.12, because I know exactly what to make of this one. 1.12 was absolutely huge for builders, and completely forgettable for everyone else. It added colored terracotta, concrete, and beds, like the colors for all of them. I think it's pretty cool, personally. I also think that it's comically inoffensive, and doesn't add any meaningful gameplay changes. Still not as bad as 1.10, since at least we get some honestly great decorational toys to play with, but you know, it's still a 2 out of 10, let's not get overzealous here. And the score is going to keep going down until they decide to do something about it. And guess what? They finally decided to do something about it. We reach the new era of Minecraft, the revival. Spearheaded by 1.13 Update Aquatic. I mean, everyone watching this video remembers Update Aquatic. Reworked seafloor, different ocean biomes, dolphins, shipwrecks, corals, kelp, tropical fish, turtles, drowned, tridents, conduits, swimming. Hello? Whenever I'm playing a mod pack, I specifically check if it's post or pre 1.13 because playing Minecraft without swimming feels like playing an early access version. It is insane. how much everything in this update completes Minecraft as a whole. And it's no surprise that so many of the additions in the update became instant staples of the game. Without a doubt, the best update so far, and a well-deserved 9 out of 10. What a comeback! And they kept the streak going, because 1.14 is Village and Pillage, and I mean, trading in villages completely overhauled. We also got pillagers and raids, and for the taiga biome that was chosen to be reworked, we got foxes and sweet berry bushes. We also got, just as an added bonus, we got pandas and we got bamboo, baby. And also, not to mention, we got completely reworked textures for the entire game. I remember when texture changes were first announced, and obviously, no one liked them, but I think today, most people agree that looking past the nostalgia factors, the new texture is just so much better than the old, dude. I mean, just look at this. What we're doing, what we're thinking. Now, I do think that the village of this update shines a lot brighter than the pillage, mostly because the raids were so frustratingly buggy for such a long time, and the trading overhaul completely changed the way most people play Minecraft. I mean, now it's common practice to have a slave farm. And if I haven't made it clear so far, I want my major updates to bring major changes. 8 out of 10, loving the redemption arc, fellas. So let's keep it going with 1.15 on the down low. Because this song is so peak, and I need— oh my god, listen to that, dude. 1.15 is the Buzzy Bees update, and yeah, it added bees. But they weren't actually the main focus. That was, wouldn't you believe it, bug fixes. Yeah, the main focus of 1.15 was just bug fixes. And as lame as that sounds, I think it was the best thing they could have done looking back on the State of Java edition at the time. However, this does not change the fact that the one thing that the update does add as a novelty, being bees and honey, is a part of the game that I rarely interact with, and I only think about its existence once I've done everything else that exists in the game. And also, unrelated, but I hate the fact that the bees are so big. Like, we have small mobs in the game, Mojang. Bats and fish already exist. Why are the bees an entire cubic meter, dude? Couldn't you have made them smaller? 5 out of 10. Because I'm grateful for the bug fixes, but not for the size of the new bugs that they added. The next update? Oh, you know it. The next one is 1.16. Yeah, you know it. It's another update. It's the one, the only. Yeah. I love this update, dude. It overhauled an entire dimension. We didn't just add some new biomes. We overhauled the entire dimension. Piglins and buttering fundamentally changed the core of Minecraft progression for the entire speedrunning community, which is a pretty big community, let's be honest. Not to mention netherite. Hello? I find it difficult to imagine playing in a pre-1.16 nether nowadays. Back then, the nether was literally just a highway building simulator, dude. You just went there with some ice, built like a horizontal line, and then you left, and that's it. That was all it was. That was an entire different aspect to the core of Minecraft. Also, for the first time, new music. Right now, you are not listening to C418. You've been listening to him since the start of the video. Right now, you're listening to Lena Rain. Let me tell you, they could not have picked a better name than Lena Rain. I mean, just like pick step! Exclamation mark! Pick step! Pick step! Point and admire! Pick step! The nether update is without a shadow of a doubt a perfect update. 10 out of 10. Hard to follow that up. And 1.17 definitely disappoints. I mean, okay, they needed a break. I can recognize that, especially after the peak that is the nether update and how ambitious they got with caves and cliffs. They thought they could do it again, they couldn't do it again. 1.17, as a reminder, was the cliffs part of caves and cliffs. We got goats, we got candles, we also got amethyst, glow squids, axolotls, copper, raw ores, so virgin works and everything, which is actually kind of— yeah, that's it. That's mostly filler, okay? But it sets the stage for a great 1.18. And so 1.17 gets like a 6 out of 10 for being a good team player, right? He sent the assist, and then 1.18 is about the score, and let me tell you, 1.18 does not fumble its shot. And if I haven't made it clear, I like it when the update has radical change. And 1.18 completely reworked world generation again, not only by adding insanely varied and beautiful, and sometimes frustrating, I'll admit, cave types, but also equally majestic mountaintops, and literally deepening the size that every Minecraft world was by 64 additional blocks. Like, what? We just have more world. We just have more world now. Also, Lena is still going strong. Is it Lena? Other side is an absolute banger. Only problem I have with this update is that finding ores feels now too dependent on stumbling upon a cave. Whereas before, you could just create a strip mine complex underneath your base wherever you were, right? And lynch me for this all you want. I like strip mining. Okay, I find it comforting. I don't like going into an unfathomably large cave and being surrounded by a more billion mobs as I'm just trying to collect some iron, okay? I like keeping my mining separate from my fighting. and this update made that very, very difficult. Overall, 8 out of 10 though. Okay, great update, great changes, meaningfully impacts Minecraft to its core. I love it. Now, moving on to the Forgotten Caves and Cliffs Part 3, which they renamed to be the Wild update because it was kind of embarrassing that they bit off so much that it took them 3 years to chew it all. But 1.19 finally brought the Deep Dark. Yippee! Nightmares that we were promised 3 years ago. Yippee! We also got mangroves, frogs, and allays as extra things, but this is basically the Deep Dark update, okay? That's what it's remembered for. And as much as I love the Deep Dark's aesthetic, I think it's horribly executed. This is the part where I see the controversial stuff. This is the part where people leave the dislikes. This is the part where I farm some engagement. I speak the truth. I understand that the Warden is supposed to be like an unstoppable force of nature. You're not supposed to fight it. And I don't want to fight it. And I'm glad it doesn't drop anything so that there's literally no incentive to fight it. And I love that this mob and biome that turns Minecraft into a literal horror game is completely optional for progression. All of that, mwah, chef's kiss. But what I don't love is that the Warden can 1. Smell the player through blocks, and 2. Attack through blocks. If it's one or the other, I'm fine with it, okay? But both of them together completely ruin the Warden and turn him from an imposing creature that the player needs to keep careful around, like a horror game, to a simply frustrating occurrence where the only viable options is to just leave and wait for him to despawn. Now, hear me out. Imagine if the Warden couldn't smell the player through blocks, and you had to completely encase yourself as soon as he spawned. Like, Warden spawns, and you completely encase yourself in a hard block, and you have to stand absolutely still because he can still hear you through blocks, and you're unable to see anything. And all you have to do is simply listen for the sound of him despawning because it makes a very iconic sound, right? That is peak horror gameplay. But instead, if you try to do this now, he's just going to smell you through like the 5 layers of impenetrable obsidian that you have all around yourself in all directions, and then hit you twice with the unblockable ranged attack that also cannot be dodged. That 2 shots, even the best armor in the entire game, because we thought that was a good idea. And there's nothing you can do about it. Like, I love the idea of the Warden and everything surrounding the Deep Dark, but man, do I hate how it's executed. Also, allies are completely forgettable, and this update was the one that rallied the community behind the divisive mob votes that Mojang was pushing out. Overall, this update should have been great on paper, but I do sometimes wish it wasn't in the game. 4 out of 10, sorry frogs, you were good, you just hung out with the wrong people. Alright, got that out of my chest. Now, we're reaching the end of the major updates. And our penultimate update is 1.20 Trails and Tales. For this one, I'm actually going to use this handy dandy Impactinator 3000 to measure how impactful each edition has been to the game based on how much I, or my friends, have interacted with it since the release. Remember, these were added 2 years ago, so they're not as recent as they seem, meaning they've had more than enough time to prove themselves worthy or not. Alright, everyone got that? Let's go! Okay, I'd forgotten this was in the game until now. Oh yeah, I've seen like a camel, I think. I don't even, like, where do you get this? I don't even know. Oh, the first time I saw them was actually with the trial chambers, which were not added in this update, so no, that's a 0. Armor, ooh, controversial. Balanced netherites, but at what cost? At what cost? Brushes, do you even craft the brush? What can you even get out of this? What? Oh, sugoi, kawaii desu ne. Mizu to gohan kudasai. Irashaimase. And that's a 2 out of 10. The machine doesn't lie, fellas. If only they made any of the main editions of this update actually worth seeking out. I mean, just look at the Woodland Mansion update. Who wants to go 10,000 blocks away from spawn to find new content? Now who wants to do that for one of the best survival items in the entire game? I mean, come on, man. Archaeology could have been great. And you fumbled it. You fumbled it hard, Mr. Jang. Well, that was a bummer. Let's see if our last update can make up for it, which is 1.21 Tricky Trials. Spoiler alert, it definitely makes up for it. This update added Trial Chambers, the Auto Crafter block, actually good looking copper decoration block, which single-handedly made me stop ignoring copper every time I saw it in the mine. It also added the Breeze Mob, the Mace, the funky new potion effects, and it reworked Bad Omen with the ominous bottles, and gave us Armadillos along with Wolf Armor, which were actually added as a drop between this and the previous update, but I'm counting it here because Armadillo plus Infested Potion XP farm is a game changer. It's not like we weren't making XP farms before, okay? It's just that you needed to build massive contraptions, and half the time it didn't work because your base was actually on top of the biggest cave known to mankind ever, and your mob farm was working at a 2.1% efficiency. Silverfish XP farms rendered the process so much more reliable, and actually give the player a reason to both interact with armadillos, which would be completely useless if the player didn't have dogs, and with the new potion effects, which are, say it with me now, funny. Also, the trial chamber servers are so much fun, and they finally deepened the very much in need combat exploration aspect of Minecraft, which had been carried by mods for years, let's be honest. And the mace is also funny, even though I have absolutely no idea how to make efficient use of it in combat. Overall, this is definitely a 9 out of 10 update. No flaws, but it's just not quite a dimensional overhaul. And that was the most recent and final major update that Minecraft has and will ever get for the foreseeable future. Since then, we've seen the addition of bundles, which I am a huge fan of, the Pale Garden and Creaking, which are cool, but I mostly just care about it for the decorational value of the Pale Oak. It's a really cool block. We also got racial diversity among the passive mob population. No comments. And most recently, the tameable hot air balloons called at Cappadocia. So, what did we learn? Since this was a GMTK video all along, we learned that to make a good update, you need to provide meaningful changes to your game that either fundamentally impact the core of your game and become staples among your player base, or you need to make changes that benefit the health of the game in the long term. Simply adding disconnected features that serve little more than fleshing out your world with little to no incentives for your players to actually interact with these features makes for a pretty forgettable update. And honestly, only serves to add more potential sources of bugs in your code. And God knows Minecraft doesn't need any more of those. Also, we learned that another update is the best update ever, and the only thing that could surpass it is the end update. No, 1.9 doesn't count, they called it the combat update. They still have a chance, Mojang, you got this! Redeem yourselves! Thank you for coming to my TED Talk, and close the door on your way out. Bye-bye.